Hello, everyone out there. Greetings from the Goat Oracle. I am far more adorable than usual, as you can see, and a bat to all of you. I said I was going to do yet another rant video, which I'm prepping more interesting videos in the background. These early videos, as far as I understand it, very few people are going to see these unless they're, I'm hoping later videos will occupy the more um, frequent channels. So hopefully that'll be a pickup. When people are just browsing around. People don't browse around for rants from old goats that uh, speak English for some reason or another. So I'd like to talk a bit about college. It was a rant I wanted to do for a while. Not an important one, but I need to get content out there. So a big problem, and this kind of relates to my original, I suppose, my original job rant. A big part of folks' issue these days with finding work comes from the newer generations who are not just, again, just getting pummeled for being the latest generations. And I'm not turning this into a discussion over which generations espouse what ideals. Um, every generation has let every other generation have it in some form or another. It's it's worth the discussion, and there's always improvements to be made. But aside from those generational issues, we also have a bit of a crisis with education in the United States, and this has been true for a while. Um, a lot of folks go into great amounts of debt to earn a power, a high-powered degree, a good degree, usually in STEM, maybe an MBA or something high. When I say high-powered, I mean potential for high salary, potential, that sort of thing, potential for a lot of work, you would assume, but job stability. And they're coming out with these degrees expecting great things. And okay, so excuse me, generations aside, this kind of expectation of life, sure. But the thing is, they're coming out with massive debt quite often. Sometimes 100, $200,000 or more after all 4 years. That's for a bachelor's. Just if you got a master's, it goes even higher. If you go for your doctorate, get a PhD. Oh boy. And by the end of all that debt, they come out thinking, well, I'm going to earn a high powered job. I'm going to make it all back. And there may have been a time when that was true, but these days, you're not assured anything. You'd have to be interning and working and keeping your volunteering, keeping your chops up the entire time through school while frantically trying to make perfect grades in your classes. And by the end of it, not only are you a nervous wreck, but it may not be worth it. You may still just have to work whatever is out there, which is there's as I've ranted before, go see my first video, less and less and less out there. And yet, you're these degrees are becoming useless. You're going through all this trouble. You're not coming out with the skills that employers even want. You are. I mean, you're learning, maybe statistics if you're getting into data science, or and how machine learning works, or you're again getting an MBA or something. You're coming out with a high business degree. You understand the flow of the working world, or come out, one of the finance bros. You come out with a master's or PhD in finance. I forget how those degrees are parceled out. Not my field of study, but I know folks who made, again, 200K plus a year, always had work, and it's at this point in the U.S. I will say that education is just a business, or maybe public schools are kind of daycares. They don't provide a real education for, and nothing they that our children are doing in these schools are preparing them for anything as they get older. And then when we shuffle them off to college, it's at this point it's becoming almost a useless endeavor. And the skills that are getting passed on, some of them are useful, of course, but a majority of those skills are just, yeah, you go to the workplace and they want to know what you've actually done, and the amount of homework you've done doesn't really cut it. So not only do you have to juggle the working world and school regardless, or you'll never find a job, but the debt, the cost. Other countries, I mean, so in the US, we do have some grant money available to us for brief periods of time that will not cover 4 year. college. It may pay for 2 year. I went to 2 year. I got an associate's degree. It is worthless now. An associate's degree was barely useful when I got it. To be perfectly honest with you, I wanted to get into the working world. I thought it was the right move. Maybe I don't know. I think having that document still on my, even though a bachelor's or beyond from 20, 30 years ago in IT doesn't mean anything. It doesn't it doesn't reflect current practice or studies. I think that's true of medical, although you get reaccredited by the AMA, I think, over and over again. So that's a little different. But still, med school is one of those you have to go to. You can't just become a doctor. You do have to get the right training at the right school. It's unfortunate, but just a lot of these degrees, a lot of these STEM degrees, especially, you're just you're not going to see the returns on it necessarily. My associate's degree is now useless, but a bachelor's is kind of getting to the point where it might be a little worthless as well. If we, you combine that with the predatory nature of schooling here in the United States, and uh, we can't educate ourselves in any way that's going to really prep us for the world, and paying back those debts becomes almost impossible. And if you're just going to end up in some whoop-de-doo job anyway, a lot of people are saying, "What's the point?" And that's, the U.S. is going to fall behind the global pace if, I mean, everyone's having these kind of problems, but the U.S. is going to kind of tumble behind the pace. We look to China, which has plenty of its own issues. I don't know that I necessarily want to live in China, although the U.S. is becoming pretty tyrannical. So I'm not even sure that that argument is holds water anymore. But I still, I don't know if I'd want to live in China necessarily. It depends. But I will say that they certainly that they, I don't know if I think their working day is a lot harder than ours. Their working week is a lot harder than ours. You hear about it, but on the other hand, as far as the education factor goes, maybe Europe would have been a better example. But I know that China has a very aggressive program for as long as you put the work in. I think they pay pretty much everything all the way through. I know that I'm fairly sure countries like Sweden or Finland do this, and I probably should have used them as an example because I think they're similar. They basically pay you to go to school. They want you to be highly educated. They want you to be skilled, and they want you to contribute. And I think they even approach the apprenticeship better. I'm going off hearsay. This is third party information, mind you, from friends of mine. So I could be wrong. I'm not going to die on this hill, so to speak. But we have they have these. If I remember correctly, they have these apprenticeship programs that, if you want to get into a more handsy craft, you can do so. Again, it's basically paid for. You don't have to worry about not making money from the company because the government is basically paying you to learn these skills, and then you get to work with your hands, or you get to. So there's always an option in these places because educating the people is important to them. But here, wow, we pick and choose winners and losers based on nepotism, based on stature. We have more of a caste system than we probably should, and we're leaving these students to rot. So a Gen Zer pops out of college and they don't have the skills they need. They have massive debt. They have been lied to basically about what's going to happen to them out there, and then they can't even get a job because nobody wants to give them a chance. I'm not saying that they're kicking down my door to hire me. I think I explained in the first video as well. If anybody cares to go back and check that out, kind of explained my situation. And the truth is, I may have screwed myself a little as well. I guess we all do. Um, I just I didn't feel as though higher education was prepping me for anything. And when I got out there into the working world, man, I had that issue. I um that there nothing I had. I realized I only had a 2 year degree. I only had an associates, but nothing I had done in school prepared me for anything. And my son, he came out of high school, middle school, high school, and he doesn't know how the world works either. And it's not just because he's a Generation Z. It's not just because he's a Gen Zer. It's each. Uh, in the 70s. they taught BASIC, a programming language, in some of the more prestigious public schools. And I say prestigious. Remember, I'm saying public school here. So we had this. There were home ec classes that, I mean, at least they taught you to cook for a while. Now they don't even do that. And beforehand, they would teach you basic bookkeeping. You could even, I swear, you could get basic accounting work out of high school in the what, 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe early 80s. I don't even remember. Again, more hearsay from the, my older friends who've been there and done that. And my parents told me some of this, but you could just go get work doing this. It was simpler, and also they were willing to let you train from the bottom up as long as you had the right work ethic and just the right sense of things. And school would prepare you for it a little bit. You'd come out of there with a few skills. Now, maybe those skills aren't needed anymore. Man, my son's high school, they didn't even teach him. They didn't really teach them any English courses. They weren't. And then we complain that they can't communicate correctly, and that, as for all these erudite, uh, monsters of perspicacity ourselves. It's not the word I was trying to say. It shows you how good my perspicacity is. That wasn't even the word I was going for. But my point is that no one's teaching them anything. So, closing. I'm gonna close this rant up here because my first one was too long, and these rant videos are never gonna be popular ever. So, they're just to get me started, as I said. I've repeated this in every video because who knows if any of these are going to get seen, but I'm going to try some of my other interests here, maybe some basic to intermediate IT, quote unquote IT videos. I'll cover some DevOps principle. Well, I'll cover some DevOps adjacent principles and technologies, platform engineering. I suppose if they're really the same techniques, just how you apply them is different. And I'm still going to attempt I believe. I'm going to try this and see if I can get this to work, of course, as far as streaming, streaming or recording. Attempt to Persona 5 Royal run on Merciless mode with brand new characters. And again, I will emphasize, I haven't been hardcore into SMT uh, games, or I haven't been gaming. I've been gaming heavily for quite some time now, so this is going to be fun to watch me go absolutely stark raving crazy. I'm very likely to bleat extremely loud, possibly kick some things over in the house. I believe my wife and son are not going to have fun wrangling me as I charge into them head first. But as you can see, I've gotten smaller and cuter here, and so maybe it won't be so bad. Usually they say "ow my ankle" and then reach down and give me head pets. And I'm lucky they let me eat their socks, but that's not usual. All right, well, it looks as though my friend here has noticed how much smaller I am today and is going to butt me off of the mountain if I'm not careful. So I am going to go hide in the bush and hope he goes away. Uh, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. And this is the Goat article. I'm an article. The Goat Oracle signing off, and a to all of you.